Okay. And in this session, we're gonna see and discuss more about methods. Earlier, we discussed about variables. In this method, we'll discuss about apex methods. Okay. So we have different types of methods. It's not they are different types. They are different types. Yep. So the methods are not being different types just because they have different syntaxes. When I say different methods, the way we gonna declare them, the way we are gonna declare them, it makes a difference within the methods, okay? And at a high level, we have two types of methods. One is static methods, the other one is non-static methods. It's the same concept follows with a variable to access, okay? Now let's have some syntaxes. Yep, here you go. Let me put some little more just to scroll up. Yep. As I said, we have two types of methods. One is static methods and the other one is non-static methods. Now let's go and find what is the subcategories we have. In static method, we have static void methods, static non-void methods. Void means no return. Void means return. Void means return. Non-void means no having a return type. Now, inside static method, static void methods, again we have segregation saying that argumented void methods, no argumented void methods, argumented void methods and no argumented void method. This is same applies to the non-static also. Even non-static void methods have argumented void methods and argumented non-void methods and no argumented non-void methods. Whatever you are saying, it as it is same for a static. It is same for a static, and this is non-static, non-static. So the only difference, the way we are gonna signature it, but at a high level, what are the two methods that we have? Static methods and non-static method. Every type, even if you take non-static or static, they have the same classifications. The first one is static void methods. Static void methods. Void in the sense no return. Okay, as we discussed earlier, that every method, why we need a method to do a certain business operation inside it, and we expect some value in return. For example, you want to do sum of two numbers, you call a method by passing two numbers, and you would expect a return of sum of two numbers, right, which is integer, isn't it? That is called return. There are the methods where some of the methods you define it as you don't need a void. I'll execute it. I don't even care about those returns, whatever it is going to return to me. Okay. For example, how we can define a method? To define a method, it's easy. Access specifier, and you can use static or static keyword. This is an optional. Let me keep optional as a curly braces. This is optional, and then return type. Return type is a data type, whether it's string, double, boolean, and you can say date, time, or whatever. Even Apex class name can also be return type. Okay. You can mean another Apex class you can also keep as a return type. And now public static void, and here you go with your method name, and like this it will be return. If there is a return type, then you will return, else you will say return statement of null. This is how the method syntax looks like. Here you can say data type variable name. So these are called arguments. These are called your arguments. This is your method body and this is your method signature. Clear? The syntax, however it looks, that is called signature. Yep. Yep. It's a written method body. Arguments. This is argument. Yep. Now I'm just keeping as it is. So I'll try to manipulate. So we have different access specifier, public, private, and protected. I'll define as a public. Okay. And I think that I need to define this as a static. Then I'll go with static. And I'll say sum of two numbers I needed. I'll say double. Because sum of two numbers, why I am using integer will always return integer value. If I need a decimal values, then my data type should be double. And method I'll define as sum of numbers. Which case is this? Which type of case is this? Camel case. So I need sum of two numbers, so I'll say double first number, comma, double second number. And what is the return that I need to do? Let's say here double result equal to first number plus second number. Now because I need a result, so I'll call my return result. Saving. Yep. How to call a method of static method? How can you access your static variables? By its class name. By its class name. I'll say double final value equal to class name dot, what is your method name? Sum of two numbers. And how many parameters that I need to pass? 10, 12.9. What is the final value that you are expecting? System.debug. The sum of two numbers is final value. Now if I execute, method does not exist. Wait. Okay, why method does not exist? Because I have to pass integer double values. I'm passing integer. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. Let me do one thing. My bad. Instead of double, I need to define as a decimal. Sorry, there is no data type called double. Decimal. Double is a class. Let me go with the decimal. Yep. I need to type cache if I want to. Type caching we can discuss later. Now 10.2, 10.3, execute. Sum of two numbers is 22.9, right? If I want to define the same method like this, let's say for example, if I define this method, whether this method is duplicated or not, whether this system knows which method it should call now, it is a duplicate method, right? So let's say sum of numbers, I'll go with the double here. I'll go with double. This is not, we can do a typecast, that also I mentioned. So now sum of two numbers is this one. Now let's results. Instead of using a values directly here, I can use double dot value of. Now what is happening here? Double dot value of, in the sense I am converting this decimal data type to double data type. This is called typecasting. Execute. The one we are doing is a typecasting. Okay. No, you have to do, if you are gonna work with a real system, if you are going to work with a real system, that you cannot expect every time you will get the same data type values. Sometimes you will get number as a string. You need to do a typecasting. Sometimes you understand, let's say you have an employee ID or an employee number which is storing as a text field, and now if you want to do some arithmetic operations on it or a comparison operators, like whether this employee number is greater than the small number. For example, I'll tell you one thing. Let's say string empid equal to 1 2 3 4 5 6 comma string new empid equal to 2, like this. And now tell me which employee ID is greater and which employee ID is smaller. Don't say it is a number. This is not a number. This is a text. Because it is quoted inside a quotes, which is a text. Can you do a which string is greater than which string? Right? Then what we need to do? We need to have a typecasting, right? Then I need to convert integer empid number equal to integer dot value of, and I'll typecast to the defined data type whatever I needed, and I'll say integer new empid number equal to integer dot value of new employee ID. Now what I'll do, I'll say if new employee ID greater than employee ID number, I'll return saying the system.debug yes, yes, system.debug no. Here yes or no, there you will do some other business operations. But if I compare this, for example, if I try to compare this employee ID greater than new employee ID, right? Execute it. Execute, highlighted. Oh, oh no. System.debug. It sounds like it is going in, but this is not I expected to go. Debug only. It is not going inside. See? And no. Let me keep. This is how it should be. Execute highlighted. I think it is going inside. Interesting. Yep. Let's say execute highlighted. Execute highlighted. Debug only. Why it is going inside? How would it know? So what it is saying, A less than B or A greater than C. This is something which I am not too sure before. I was thinking that the string doesn't have a greater than less than symbols. Now it looks like something else. Just checking. Oh, interesting. It is working as expected. System is understanding it. Yep, it is working. Strings also it is comparing which is greater than which is like smaller on an ascending order only. Great news. I never tried this. Always whenever I get such requirements, I always ensure that I will go with typecasting. But this is also nice. Which is greater than which is smaller. Cool. So typecasting is more on converting one data type to other data type. Just yeah. So to do your business operations. Okay. And in this case, what happened? Now system will understand if I pass my double as a parameter, then it will go to this method. If I pass decimal, then it will execute this method. So method names can be same. You can see method names are same. What is difference here? Arguments. Your data arguments are different. Let's say for example, if I declare like public static void get details string first name comma string last name. Okay, and because this is a non-void method, you don't need to mention your result, your return type, because this is a void. Now let's say if I have here instead of first name I'll keep last name and here first name. Now methods are different or unique? Right? That's the question. Even though if the parameter names are different, your argumented variable names are different, but data types remain same. String comma string, string comma string. So this is a duplicate. If I want to make this as a unique, if I want to make, let's say if I add here as a integer, okay, integer, integer age, okay, integer age. If I take this integer age in middle, might be arguments are same, right? First name, last name, integer, and everything. But the arguments is different, right? If I pass string comma string and then age, it will call this method. If I pass string integer comma string, then it will call this method. For example, system.debug. The system will understand the method uniqueness based on the order of parameters that you define. Order of method parameters are a method arguments that you have defined here. Clear? From string integer. If I pass, then string integer method, just for understanding. whether it is really calling the same or it is not calling the same. Control E. Because there is no return type, there is no point of writing like this. The method is void type. Now I can say A colon B comma 1. So I'm passing this integer in string and then integer. Which method it will call? Line number 68. Execute. String integer. See, right? If I change anything here, like for example, Control X, then it should be string integer string. So the ultimate goal for us to understand here is a method can have a same name, but the order of argument should be different. That's where the system will understand which method it should call. Clear? Now, how can I access variable? Let's say I have a variables here, right? Static variables and non-static variables. Can I access my first name directly? We don't need to mention class name anywhere because this method and that variables is also inside same class. Now if I say here, if I want to define my first name, let's say here if I want to call my first name, I can simply call my first name like this. Okay, first name equal to sum of numbers. That happens. But if I can come back here, if I go and define here first name equal to first name, they looks both same, isn't it? This is a class variable and this is a method variable in my assumption. How system will know that which is class variable, which is this variable? You understood? So how can we do this? Then we need to call a class name. Then you need to mention your class name. If this is a situation of two variables are same, then let's say I want to take this variable value to a class variable, then I'll keep here. If I say that I wanted to assign my class variable value to a first name, then I will keep my class name here. Clear? Yes, exactly. Now what happened? Whatever I'm gonna send first name here, it will gonna replace procoding skills with AB. Yep. Clear? For example, yep. One is data assigning, one is data calling. Equal to this side means 1 equal to A equal to 2 means now A value is 2, right? If 2 equal to A, now 2 value is A. That's the difference. Assigning, data assigning is different. It have a difference whether you are assigning a value or whether you are reading a value. Default value. Now I can see this is my name. The same thing I do at bottom just to see whether my data is being assigned or not. By default it should be procoding skills. After assigning it should be B, right? After value. Clear? In the method we are doing it, right? String integer string. In this we are assigning first name. So what is the first name here? B. As per this statement, your final value here should be first name should be B, right? Execute. See? This is how we call same first name only, right? Here by default it's a procoding skills. and after calling a method, because we are doing a assignment within the method, then this turns into B. Any questions? Here we are calling this method, so because it get into this method, now we are getting into, now first name is replacing with a class name of first name. So and then we are trying to access first name in the next statement. So then the value will procoding skills is got replaced with value B. Okay. And now let's say static variables is fine, you can access with a class name. But what about non-static variables? You have to call with object name. It means sample apex class obj equal to new sample apex class, and then obj dot first name coding skills equal to, can I able to access this outside of a class? But whatever I am adding here, can I able to access that? No. Because every time if I create an object, it will get a new default values, isn't it? Non-static variables are executional variables. That's what we decided before. That's why I asked that question. One variable can have a multiple values based on its object name. If I want to access this variable outside of a class, I need to create another object. If I create another object, what happens? This will get again procoding skills, right? Every object will get a default values back. Every time you create object, every time the values will reset to their default state. If I create object dot first name dot none, so by the what is the value for this? By default, it's a procoding skills because we declared it as a procoding skills. Now here we renamed as a first name equal to B with a first name is B. But if I want to read this value the way I am doing here system.debug, if I want to do that first name non-static variable, I need to create an object. As soon as I create an object, what is the value it will be? Procoding skills. System.debug value inside method plus, so this is my first name, right? Save. Controlling object dot first name, control X, and obj2 dot, because every time I need to call before and after will be a same variable, so obj2. Now tell me, I created one object before and I am trying to read what is my first name. After execution, again I wanted to access that variable, what is the new name. Clear? Hello? Now if I run this statement, you know the output? Always object dot default value and after value remains same. Execute. See, after default value or after value remains same every time when you create an object. When you create an object, non-static variables will always reset to their default values. However, you declared a variables. Here, the value you declared it as pro coding skills. Every object will get the same values again and again. It will not consider what is being modified with the previous object. Simple. Because you are using a class name, so for a class name variable's entire execution you will be having only one value. For a non-static variables, the variable value depends upon the object you are creating. If you create an object, if you assign a value, if this object is resulting, then it's a, let's say if I define this as a sample class as a output, and I'll return my output here, return obj. If I return my obj here, then I can able to access this first name based on the obj. Default value is this, and what is returning here? Object it is returning, isn't it? What is method returning? Method returning a class name. Class name means an object, right? What is returning here? Class name. So class name means an object. How you return a class name? Based on object name. You are returning an object. Now obj2 dot first name. This is how it should be. So if we want to keep the value as it is in the method also, then you need to define your return types of a object. Every time you create an object, non-static variables will always reset to their default values. Every time you create an object, non-static variables will reset to their default values. It never be in the state what you have done with the previous object. If we want to access the previous value, then you need to maintain this object accessibility. You need to return this object. Then with this object you can able to access what is being modified within the method. Clear?